Yeah. Or otherwise it'll launch a new video from Restream. That could be what will happen. So the link that everyone's probably been sent will just like not trigger the YouTube link. So did you set up
I
one
did
like
try.
earlier this week, didn't you? Like a few
Yeah.
days ago. Yeah.
No, I've got it. We're good.
Okay.
No, we're good because I connected it through the Restream app, so
Okay, wicked.
we should be right. Yeah, we're live. G'day, everyone. Hopefully you can hear us.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, Trent. Hopefully, hey, Axel. Hey, guys.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in.
Hey, Adam. I'm still on the road, so we're just trialing to. Hey, Kyle. Ben. I'll just give everyone a couple of minutes. I'm still in Perth at my partner's lounge room, so I'm glad this is working. Marco, good Axel. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Twitter still doesn't seem to be working. Hey, Tim. Just give it one more minute, everyone, and then we'll get into it. For some reason, I still can't get Twitter going, which is frustrating. Awesome, everyone. So we're going to wrap. We're going to head into some latest news around Apple, which this is a little bit excited about, which we may be hearing some whispers of some things coming up in Bitcoin Miami conference, which I'm going to on Monday. So we'll be able to report that if it comes to fruition, but we'll chat about that today. As well as just going to wrap up the Bitcoin and crypto news this week. We might cover some stuff we've already spoken about this week, but we're going to just wrap up the latest headlines and then just at the end do a bit of Q&A and also what we're seeing on the charts for April and beyond. And any alpha Maddie's got for us in what he's been seeing.
Yeah, I got some. I think it's coming in at the end though.
Have to hold on to the end.
Yeah, it's just escaping my mind at the moment. I'm sure it'll come back by the end of it.
Hey, Jay. Awesome team. Okay. Still can get Twitter going, so we won't worry about that.
Always happens.
Okay.
All right.
How do I share? Oh, there we go. Share my screen on here. Awesome. Let's get into it. So we're going to start with a little bit of news that, I guess there's some rumors that have been floating around Apple potentially integrating Bitcoin and crypto into their wallets. So this is an article that I put up on News BTC this morning, and it's around Jack Mallers. He's the founder of a company called Strike, which is a Lightning Network company, and they recently integrated with Twitter. And he's been releasing some little bits and pieces, some little, I guess, breadcrumbs over the last few weeks around this announcement that he's making at the Bitcoin conference next week. So I am heading to the conference on Monday. I'm heading to the US, which I'm super excited about. And I think this is going to be pretty big. So there are rumors that it may be the Apple announcement. And this article sort of just goes into detail around some very similar things he's doing with, very similar to, a long while ago when IBM and I guess the old Web 1 companies were moving to Web 2. He's starting to do a couple of different things here, including, he's wearing this Apple hat. He was giving the bird to the Chase Bank. Now this may be just a little bit of a conspiracy. You might be reading a little bit too much into this, but, opening up crypto and Bitcoin to Apple could be a huge, huge, huge driver of adoption, in my opinion. So you can imagine, how, I use Apple Pay on my phone. The ability to use, Apple Pay using Lightning Network at the local shop or, wherever you're going to buy goods and services, and the ease of use of using Bitcoin on your phone, I think could be a huge driver of user adoption. I think their legacy, Web3 apps right now are still a little bit hard to use. Matt, I'm not sure if you've got any opinions on, like, are you using any Bitcoin apps? Like, I'm thinking about what app I'm going to download to go to the conference in next week and how I'm going to spend my Bitcoin. Not entirely sure which app. Like, I don't think there's been one real winner at this point.
Yeah, it's intimidating, especially, just mobile use. It's connected to so many things. I know there's all these different wallets these days, like Argent, Rainbow Wallet, even MetaMask has a mobile app. And to be honest, you really just got to have a separate wallet address these days if you're going to be going to conferences. Again, conferences is like a kind of a magnet honeypot for hackers and whatnot as well. So, I think these days something like Apple's integration, if this was to happen, would be absolutely game changing in terms of ease of use.
100%. I think the ease of ability to use crypto and Bitcoin is still pretty difficult. I mean, just look at how hard it is to use a ledger or a Trezor to store your assets. It's just super difficult to wrap your head around. Like, imagine if it was the ability to have an Apple, crypto app where you could face whatever it is, the face verification or touchscreen on your thumb as the encrypted way to get into your wallet. Like, that would be, now that is sort of real world adoption when it's easy for anyone to set up an account at that point. Matt, I think that could be pretty huge. I think, what is there, over 1 billion users on Apple to date. And Tim Cook, his name Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, came out recently and said that he is bullish on Bitcoin. He actually owns Bitcoin and has done for a little while now. So, from the hardware wallet aspect, that could be really bullish, as well as like a Safari browser extension. We know how awesome MetaMask is. The ability to have a something on Safari on your mobile app as well. That could be really, really bullish as well.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see if anything comes of this, because to date Apple's been pretty resistant or to crypto in general, particularly the app stores. I know a lot of crypto companies have had a lot of hurdles to get through just to launch their app on the App Store due to Apple's policies with fees and whatnot. I think they have to take a 30%, if I'm not mistaken, clip off of every transaction that happens through an app. And just in general, their policies towards like enabling crypto apps to get up and running, which is a bit easier these days, but over the years has been very, very difficult. So, if they were to announce something at Miami or even soon, that would be, very legitimizing and good validation for the whole space, especially Bitcoin.
100% agree. Awesome. Let's get into the wrap up of the news. So probably the biggest news, a couple of key pieces that I thought were probably the biggest this week, Matt, was one, MicroStrategy taking out a Bitcoin collateralized loan to buy more Bitcoin. probably the most Bitcoin native, I guess, aggressiveness on trying to acquire more Bitcoin. So MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, which most of you probably heard of by now, NASDAQ publicly listed company, continues to buy more Bitcoin to build up their balance sheet. I think they own more than $6 billion worth of Bitcoin now, over 128,000 Bitcoins they own. And they've taken out a loan through this bank called the Silvergate Exchange Network, which is a bank focused on cryptocurrencies. And, they've collateralized $200 million in Bitcoin, $205 million cash loan using Bitcoin holdings as collateral. So effectively using, their current Bitcoin holdings to buy more Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's almost a way of like levering up to an extent, which is a dangerous game. But Saylor's not one for just sitting idle. So it's just still bizarre to see that a few years ago there were no businesses or corporates involved with putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and here we are today. Obviously, since the MicroStrategy announcement and Square, I think a bit after that, there hasn't been too many other cases where everyone thought that would kind of be the trend, so to speak, where a lot of companies would put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, but that kind of hasn't materialized. But if Saylor continues to really make aggressive plays like this, it might lead to more adoption.
And as you said, Matt, it's pretty much a leveraged way of buying more Bitcoin. And, that's what he's tweeted here. Give me a lever long enough and Bitcoin on and which to place it, and I shall move the world. And a quote here that he mentioned last year, the Bitcoin 2021 conference in Miami, is that, if you realize an asset was going to go up more than 10% a year and you could borrow money at 5%, or 3 or 4 or 2%, then you would just borrow as much money as you could and flip it into the asset. Why wouldn't you? I think this is something you'd traditionally hear from, maybe an individual on Twitter or something like that. But this guy is literally running a multi-billion-dollar company in MicroStrategy, and he's continued to be probably placing one of the biggest Wall Street bets in history in crypto.
Yeah, watch this story. We'll see. He'll either be, yeah, he'll definitely be remembered either way in a decade's time. Just, yeah,
Hopefully with the right reasons.
hopefully the right reasons.
Now, the other biggest news I thought over the last week is just Terra Luna continuing to buy more Bitcoin. So their UST stable coin, that recently was only pegged with, I guess, Luna, and buying and selling of Luna, burning and of Luna and the UST to keep that UST dollar stable, pegged to the dollar. They've announced that they're going to be buying, I think, I'm not sure if this was confirmed, $10 billion worth of Bitcoin over the next few months, which is absolutely huge. And I think we found his Bitcoin address, or Terra's Bitcoin address recently, and it was just basically buying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Bitcoin a day. They were taking up more than I think the supply of Bitcoin that was coming into circulation. So really bullish on Bitcoin. And Pomp did an interview with Do Kwon, the founder, basically saying that he wants to be the biggest Bitcoin holder on earth behind Satoshi. He's a huge Bitcoin bull, and he's going to continue to lap up the Bitcoin for the Terra ecosystem. So, yeah, Matt, I think this is pretty bullish news. It continues to pave the way for Bitcoin potentially to be that reserve currency that the currency that potentially down the line, as things progress, continues to be something that Bitcoin could be the currency that most assets actually use as their native currency.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very aggressive move by Terra, but they need something to, I guess, just break the mold, keep pushing the space in terms of awareness of their own ecosystem, which I think has also been a big benefactor of this sort of news. I was just checking then, even the UST stablecoin at the moment by market cap of all crypto assets is now up to 14th in ranking, which I remember late last year it was about 70th when the Terra ecosystem did their foundation essentially sold all this Luna and converted it into UST. And I remember at the time, like Kinji, our analyst, really did a post explaining why he thought this was bullish for Luna. And you just saw the UST stablecoin, go from 70th, 60th, 50th, 40th, and now it's all the way up to 14th on the ranking. So now you've got that plus Terra, Luna token now 9th by market cap. And then, of course, it's also very good news for Bitcoin as well because of, it's just the constant demand that this will create for, again, more people competing for a very scarce amount of Bitcoin.
100%. I was just trying to bring up, so Terra is the number 4 biggest stable coin. Matt, you could probably do a better job of explaining the difference between some of these stable coins and how they work. Obviously, you've got Tether, which is the biggest. And then you've got some of these algorithmic stable coins, which are a little bit, work a little bit differently.
Yeah. So basically the top 3 in particular are just your normal, just backed 1 for 1. Or they're all essentially try to be backed 1 for 1, or at least peg the dollar or run at parity is another way you'll see people describe it. USD coin is probably seen by the industry as like the safest one. It's probably the most regulatory compliant as well. So that started Coinbase and Circle are basically behind that. That's kind of been, they had an explosive like 2020 and 2021 compared to Tether, which basically leaped or started to gain a lot of market share when you're talking about, I guess, the pie of stable coins. And then UST, as I just said, really just rose to prominence. I'm not as familiar. It's been a while since I've looked at the Terra ecosystem in good depth. But I believe, obviously, the goal of it is to track the US dollar 1 for 1. But as for what's backing it, I know there is a mechanism there between the Luna token and UST, which I know another of our analysts has kind of been doing more work on the Terra space. So yeah, a lot of options these days, I suppose, for stable coins.
I can't quite find that piece you did, but yeah, Terra continues to really break out. I mean, where were we? Only in February, Terra was $47, and now we're sitting at, yesterday it was at 108. Yeah, so
Yeah, very glad we got that in the long-term portfolio.
it's been,
It's really helped this year significantly.
but yeah, so basically what we're looking at with now Bitcoin, like it, as the Terra ecosystem builds, whether it be Luna or UST, and now with the Bitcoin backing it, it's just only going to, continue to grow the whole space, including Bitcoin. So yeah, super bullish on that front. Matt, I wanted to look into a couple of charts for Bitcoin just so we can see sort of where we're going, where we're tracking. One chart that I've been looking at a lot recently is the supply on exchanges.
Mm.
And you can see just over the last 3 months, like continually the decline of the amount of Bitcoin. So the orange line here, you can see this is the total balance of Bitcoin on exchanges, and the gray line is price of Bitcoin. The amount of Bitcoin on exchanges continues to be stepped up. And I mean, this is probably not predominantly driven by retail investors, but more of the institutional investors with Terra, the likes of Terra, MicroStrategy continuing to buy more Bitcoin. But the reality is there's not that much supply left on the exchanges. So if we have a retail run, Bitcoin continues to be sort of promoted in the normal media, and things continue to grow with the macro, space of, the war that's going on, inflation rates, and people trying to find an asset that's continuing to grow. Like, you're really going to see the supply squeeze on Bitcoin. And I just can't see how things don't really continue to grow over the course of this year.
Can you zoom out on that chart even a bit more, Ben? It's just like, I think that effect is just crazy, but I think we've gone all the way. Yeah, where was the peak of that? 3.2 million was in start of midway through 2020. Yeah, this chart, I guess the first chart you showed made it look like extreme, like there was just people, an exodus of Bitcoin, but it still has dropped from about 3 million to 2.5. So what's that? That's about 15% or so in whatever time period that was. But 2.5 million of the circulating supply of Bitcoin, which I think is getting very close to 19 million. As you said, if there's a massive rush of retail interest or any demand really, that could really force a squeeze on the price of Bitcoin.
The other one I was looking at, the chart of like the 1 year plus hodl wave. So this is the orange line here is the amount of accounts or addresses that have held Bitcoin for over a year. And I think we're nearly at all-time high numbers. I think it peaked here in September 2020 at around 63%. We're about that same price now.
Mm.
And if I'm reading this correctly, this is over 60% of total supply is held by addresses that haven't sold in over a year, which is a lot, right?
Mm.
And if we look at, where this number was back when we're sort of at, February 2016, when supply was held by this amount of hodlers, it was just before this really, the big bull run of sort of 2017. The same here in 2020 of August, when we had this peak of 63%, we had the run up from 10,000 to 50,000 in 2020. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've been looking at this. History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Are you looking at these charts, Matt? And what are your thoughts on?
I'm not, but I wish I was. This is I haven't looked at this in a while, and yeah, wow, it's hard not to be bullish for the rest of 2022 looking at this. Obviously, every time, as you said, history rhymes. There's different macro conditions, monetary policy conditions going on at different bits where these red and green dots are. However, like this is, people have not really sold after this. What we've had a massive drawdown of, got towards where we get towards 30% recently. So almost over a 50% correction. And to see that line still going up is super encouraging.
100%. If you're watching, let us know what your thoughts are on these sort of charts. Do you think we're going to have another run? Do you think we have a bit of a sell-off with the macro uncertainty? And if you're loving these videos, please give us a like and a subscribe. We really do appreciate the support. It helps us to continue to promote good education and research in crypto. But moving on, Matt, as well, the fear and greed index, not something I look too heavily on, but it gives us a good indicator on different market sentiment analysis. It brings in a few different things from across the interweb, including volatility, Bitcoin, momentum of volume, social media sentiment, Google Trends, etc. And we're sort of sitting in that about that middle range, well, literally apparently 50-50 on, bullish and bearish. So sort of in this neutral range. And in the past where we've sat neutral has sort of been an indicator of something happening just after it, whether it be a sharp sell-off or, an increased, bull run. And I think sitting around that $45,000, $46,000 mark, I'm seeing a lot of institutional interest, but still probably not that much new interest from retail investors. I think that's mainly potentially due to, I'm seeing a lot of even comments in our group around just the reality of wages and inflation and things costing more and more money. Like people don't have that much more or additional discretionary income maybe to invest right now. But I do think, over the course of, the next 12, 24 months as inflation continues to increase and other assets continue to sell off. Like I just think with the institutional interest and, whether it be Apple integrating crypto or Twitter integrating NFTs, like just, crypto is becoming more and more mainstream every day. And I just don't see how we can, go back down to these levels seen in the last couple of years.
Yeah, spot on. I do love looking, like I don't look at this every week, every month even, but I think over time it's really reflective of just obviously the sentiment, which is what obviously drives markets a lot in a market like Bitcoin, where there isn't, a consensus really on how to value it. And that's definitely true for the rest of the thousands of cryptocurrencies too. So yeah, it's about time we checked in on this. And yeah, we've had some red. I think what's important now is it's starting to go up that scale and more towards the yellow now, which is also worth noting. There's been a lot of struggles and hardship in the Bitcoin and crypto community over the past few months. Sure, it was over a long bull market, but I guess it's also worth noting when this yellow kind of time is coming in.
100%. Chris, thanks for jumping on LinkedIn, mate. Chris just mentioned here, the technicals are looking solid and market structure looks to be really nice. Not surprised to have a small pullback from the local highs and expect short-term dips to be bought up quite quickly. You're right. We're going to see that volatility. I think overnight, we're probably down, not entirely sure, a few percent, but you're going to, 5% on the market cap. This is crypto, right? Like this is to be expected. We had a really sharp increase over the last couple of weeks. So markets do need to have a retracement, need to have a cooling off period. And that's just all part of natural growth in bull cycles. Won't talk too much about stock to flow. Matt, moving on to the environmental campaign that's led by Ripple's co-founder. They are wanting to change the Bitcoin code. They're wanting to move Bitcoin. They're basically campaigning to move the Bitcoin code from proof of work to proof of stake. They're bankrolling a $5 million campaign called the Change the Code, Not the Climate, to bring attention to the Bitcoin's energy use. Now, again, I'm not an environmental expert, but, for one, I've looked into a few charts. I think, I'm not sure if I retweeted it yesterday on Twitter, just around the actual carbon emissions produced by Bitcoin is actually really small compared to other assets. I think, no, I don't have it. Oh yeah, here it is. Here. The carbon emissions of Bitcoin compared to other industries. Bitcoin's carbon emissions actually is 24 times less than air conditioners alone. It produces less carbon emissions than tumble dryers. Like, or look at the aviation industry. It's 48 times more that carbon emissions that aircraft produced against Bitcoin. Like, I don't know what your perspective on this, Matt, but I think more and more miners are starting to move towards trying to be more, energy efficient and using more renewable energies for crypto. Like it's not like it's something that we're continuing to ignore. It's something we're continuing to want to move towards a more environmentally friendly, and I'm all for that. But this seems to be a little bit driven by more personal reasons rather than actually, for the betterment of Bitcoin, right? Like this is a Ripple co-founder and
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you go back to that chart, I think that playing devil's advocate there, you could argue that, well, aviation, tumble dryers, even data centers, they actually, provide utility to, people's lives and society and whatnot. So that's probably the counter argument you get there. Whereas people then who may not understand Bitcoin a lot would point to Bitcoin and be like, yeah, okay, it might be a tiny part of that graph, but Is it even necessary, and why is it using all this energy if it's just this invisible money thing when we've already got our fiat money? Like that's the argument you see. And I think that's just more education about the value of Bitcoin and whatnot. Eventually, we already, as you said, are seeing like such a more green energy usage of Bitcoin over the past like 18 months in particular. I think like Iris Energy is an Australian or Sydney kind of headquartered company that's doing some great work. I think they're mostly set up in Canada, and they're really pushing, moving the needle in terms of, sustainable mining of Bitcoin or mining Bitcoin with renewable energy. And there's been like, they're just one of many examples of companies that are doing that. So yeah, I believe if that chart or that adoption of green energy continues, I can see these sorts of attempts to, paint Bitcoin as a waste of energy or a dirty energy, basically to really start to quiet down.
Also, Matt, just from literally a perspective of trying to change the code of Bitcoin, right? Like you have to have more than 50% of the whole network to agree on this, right? So like we're talking, you can't just go to a few people or go to the owner and ask him politely, or sue him, or there's no one individual who can go to try and change the code, right?
Yeah, it's very hard to make a change, and that's a feature, really. It has to go through all these stages of governance, all these Bitcoin, improvement proposals needs to be considered. You need to write up why something would improve it. Everyone needs to agree on it, and that takes a long time for a reason. And then you would get a code change. So this has been tried many times in the past. Not this particular example, but examples where things have been proposed and then they've been knocked back. And yeah, if this was to happen, I reckon it would be knocked back.
And this was pulled out of the Bloomberg article here, where like it's actually mentioned the campaign believes that about 50 key miners, crypto exchanges, and core developers have the power to change Bitcoin's code, which is just factually incorrect. So, I just as Eric Voorhees mentioned here, but no, Bitcoin should not consider it, and there is zero interest among Bitcoiners for it. Cool. Moving on. So, just quickly, Matt. Sorry, Macrosaurus on YouTube here. Does Matt have some sort of smooth skin filter on? No, he's just naturally beautiful. I think.
I know, that's it. Been working like a dog somehow still doing something right. Who knows?
That's that moisturizer.
Thanks for that. I'll pay you your tip after this.
Right, moving forward. So Jeanette Yellen recently came out, and so Jeanette Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, has in the past been really not a fan of Bitcoin. She continues to sort of infamously be pointing towards the transactions of the network being supposedly used for illicit transactions, and just being negative, overall very negative towards Bitcoin. But recently she came out and said that there are a lot of benefits for crypto, and we can recognize innovation and payment systems can be a healthy thing across crypto. So Matt, I'm not sure if you caught up with this news, but it seems that off the back of Biden's executive order that was announced recently, like some of the policymakers in the US continue to become a little bit more open, at least to Bitcoin and other digital assets.
Yeah, it was good to see. The Treasury in particular has been very hostile towards Bitcoin and crypto in the past. So I was pleased to see these comments. But yeah, I think proof will be in the pudding once I think these reports, these recommendations or reviews that Biden kind of ordered, a month or two ago, once they come through, it'll be we could conclude or take away a bit more than this. But good to see overall.
Great. Cool. Also talking about the on-chain analysis and some of the stuff that Checkmate's been speaking about on the member platform here recently about potentially a recession inbound. Now, I'm not a macro expert, but he's sort of been talking about this yield curve hitting 0%. Matt, you're got a bit more background in economics here, so I might let you explain this, but potentially something pretty big coming up here.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot about this. It's basically the spread between the Treasury bills in the US, which is government bonds. You got the 10-year, 5-year, and even some lesser time frames. People always seem to talk about the spread between them, and what that would mean for how that reflects upon the economic outlook, and the outlook to do with monetary policy, which is very important. Because if the outlook on monetary policy is that, oh no, central banks are going to start, squeezing, or what they say, like tightening monetary policy, meaning they're going to be, lifting interest rates, increasing interest rates to basically try to calm down economic growth, or to slow down economic growth in an effort to calm down inflation. People seem to look at these yield curves as a way to kind of deduce that and read into that. I haven't been following it too closely. However, more just broader commentary on what's going on is that, there still seems to be this consensus that Federal Reserve and other central banks around the world are going to be lifting interest rates multiple times. I think in the US, it's going to be 7 is the consensus prediction. I think they've already done it once. And the fear, or not even fear, but just the expectations there is that as interest rates are going to rise, I guess people's willingness to take risk is not going to be as high, because the interest rates in their bank will be higher, granted probably 1 or 2%, and also the returns on bonds, as you're seeing with yields increasing as well, will be better, and it will be less of an incentive to invest in things like crypto assets, NFTs, or even tech stocks, which is why, year to date, we've seen the NASDAQ relative to S&P and the Dow Jones. The NASDAQ has been pretty sluggish, and that's kind of a big reason for this. It's just this broader narrative. Something I look out for, though, is that if everyone is thinking the same thing, that's when I kind of, my ears prick up a bit, and kind of I try to challenge myself of what a counter to that could be, because if everyone's on the same page on something, that's typically not a great sign that it will happen.
It's actually an interesting point I want to lead into around. I'm just going to skip to DeFi. So I made a video yesterday, Matt, around DeFi, and it being my sort of quote unquote peak for the next trend in crypto. Now, it's not a new trend necessarily, but I remember, even you and I were sitting down a couple of months ago going like, how on earth is DeFi going to come out of this slump? Like, there's literally nothing happening in this space. And we were having a research call the other day internally with our team, Collective Shift, and remember some commentary going basically like, DeFi's dead, load of rubbish, like it's just nothing's going to happen. And, as quite often happens in crypto, the thing you think is the most likely to not happen actually happens. And we saw over the last few days, some of the DeFi projects have really started to move. So Aave released its new V3 recently on this protocol, and he's up. Look, still down, notably down 66% from its all-time highs, but up 30% in the past 24 hours. I think Tron is up, or Thorchain, sorry, is up 200% in the last month as well. I was looking at some data yesterday. So, I'm not sure what your take on is.
SNX has been going up this week, like Uniswap. It's a time when they've all been building. They're all starting to deploy on these scaling solutions, or layer 2 solutions. Like Synthetics in particular has had, the Lyra, their Lyra project that's built on top of Solana. Synthetics, that's gone live on Optimism, I think, today. They've got Quenta. I think D-Hedge is also building on Optimism, if I'm not mistaken. And so, you get in this time of building when everyone's, paying attention to things like NFTs, even, Shiba Inu, Dogecoin. You see these sorts of innovations, and you're right, Ben, it's that psychology that we're just talking about with everyone expecting interest rates to rise, inflation to get out of control, people to have no appetite for investing in tech stocks or crypto. And it's that same kind of psychology here, where everyone's like, DeFi is done, I want to put my money elsewhere. And you see the smart money coming in, and these people, in a matter of weeks have made 50 plus %, depending on which particular DeFi crypto asset they purchased.
100%. And one that we made in there, our investment section for. So if you're new to the channel and new to Collective Shift, basically what we're trying to bring to the space is a level of transparency on what we're doing. So we don't take anyone's money, but we are basically providing what a hedge fund will do in terms of their investments and analysis behind all of our decisions. And we made a pretty large investment into Maple it was September last year, Matt.
Late September, I believe.
Yeah, it was around $14.
Yeah,
Back here somewhere.
it was about 14.
About
14, so at
$14.
about, just close to 3. Oh no, I did a bit over 3x. Yeah, 280%, I believe. So close to 4x.
Yeah,
We sold it the other day. Oh, we took some profits. It just wasn't sensible to be having such a large,
exactly.
such a large percentage return.
But and as well, in the sort of a DeFi bear market where most projects were down 60-70%, Maple, I think it continued running higher, so it hit about $52, up 192%. So we took some profits on that. But I think it just goes to show, like, once you can get hold of a real world product that is continuing to deliver on its promise and is delivering returns or profits, or at least revenue back to token holders, and it has good a good fundamental product. And Maple is a really simple one, right? Like, it's just institutional DeFi. It provides a borrowing market to real world users, FTX. There's a lot of other real world products, companies using the asset, the protocol. And for me anyway, I like to look at just a really simple lens of, can you explain this company, and is it actually doing something in the real world? So yeah, well done to those that jumped onto that. Cool. Moving on, we also saw probably the biggest, I think it was the second biggest hack in crypto history recently. Axie Infinity, one of its side chains, Ronin, was hacked for $622 million recently. And I think from what I read into this, it was actually a lot simpler than what you probably would have thought. So I think there was nine people with the passwords, basically nine. They took control of 5 of the 9 validators that signed transactions. So there was no, fancy exploit. It was just a matter of this hacker got
social attack, social engineering. Yeah.
What's your takeaways here, Matt?
Yeah, more. Apart from the exploit itself, there isn't that too much to go into how the exploit happened. Really, I was baffled, to be honest, to see that it was I think DeFi's biggest exploit ever, and as you said, possibly the second biggest exploit in crypto industry's history. Like, now getting to over a decade, and it was just brushed aside, which was kind of reflective of the market sentiment, I believe, at the moment. People losing life-changing amounts of money, which is pretty sad. And typically you would see FUD take over and get in the mainstream headlines, but I really didn't see too much of that, which was quite surprising. It could have been because it's isolated to the Axie Infinity ecosystem, possibly, that there weren't actually that broad of a range of people across society that were impacted. I think Axie only dipped maybe 10% or 15%. The RON token only dipped maybe 20%. And then it was just back to business after that. I think they maybe rebounded after. But I have been seeing messages from people who have been hacked. Like, they're sending the hacker like on-chain messages, like begging them to like return it because they've lost like all like life-changing amounts of money. Which is pretty sad, and it's just another reminder to never really put all your eggs in one basket. And when you are using a bridge, like Ronin was essentially a bridge from Ethereum, even though the bridge itself wasn't exploited, this was more of a social engineering thing. But just another reminder of bridges, that they themselves are still very experimental. We saw Wormhole, I think, exploited for about 400 million over summer. Again, VCs came in and like really helped make everyone full and recovered, which, again, you shouldn't rely on that happening. It's good it happened, but it's pretty sad. But it's another week in crypto, another reminder.
And I think we saw, I'm not too sure which company basically come in and say they're going to be, replacing everyone's money. But like you said, Matt, it doesn't happen to every project. So always, key things are, have a...
down the bottom there. Yeah.
Down the bottom here. Have a...
last sentence of the article. Yeah, that's good.
Cool.
You shouldn't rely on that.
Use two-factor authentication, use a password app, use long character passwords, never share your seed phrase, all those sorts of basic principles that we all know. But even some of the best and biggest names in the industry unfortunately, being targeted. Now, moving on, another potential. Well,
kind of
this has been a
related.
little bit, but a little bit controversial. Some people call this a tax loss harvesting scheme, but I think it's probably someone that unfortunately has gone and sold one of their minimum 250,000 US dollar NFTs, Bored Ape Yacht Club, for 115 DAI. Looks like they potentially said DAI or use DAI instead of Ethereum, which is super sad if true, unless they're doing the dodge. But taking on face value, this could have been a bit of a mistake. So please always be careful if you're selling NFTs, if you're selling crypto, if you're doing anything, please double, triple, quadruple check before doing any of these large transactions, because it can be pretty devastating.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, what happens with this. But another reminder: even if you do make one of the best investments in history, you're still not safe, even if you go to sell it. If that was indeed a fat finger or a mistake. But yeah, we can move on here, Ben.
Last couple of things we'll touch on is
huge.
Matt, I'll let you touch on this. You're pretty deep in the NFT space at the moment.
Yeah, Solana surge, like the SOL token surge, and all the NFT, a lot of the NFT tokens on Solana ripped higher as well, based off the news that OpenSea, the by far the largest NFT marketplace in the world, announced that Solana was going to be supported, or Solana-based NFTs were going to be supported on their marketplace pretty soon, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's in April. So yeah, we're already in April technically in Australia. Absolutely massive. The biggest losers from this are probably Magic Eden. If you scroll up a bit there, then just a tiny bit. Yeah, as a result, Magic Eden is probably the biggest loser there. I think they were by far taking up the market share on Solana-based NFTs. But I'm excited. I'm almost nervous for the OpenSea developers, because their website day in, day out keeps on going down. It keeps going down. It's super laggy. And what happens when you bring a whole nother really fervent ecosystem of enthusiasts of NFT, investors, traders, and just collectors? What happens when they come across the OpenSea? It'd be really interesting to see how it holds up as a platform. But super exciting news, and well done to all the Solana-based NFT collectors out there, because people are kind of front running this news, and they're probably going to dump on the OpenSea users. So if I was an investor, I wouldn't be buying a Solana-based NFT now. I think it's too late, but I would expect them to come down a lot once OpenSea does integrate their exchange or marketplace.
Yeah, and I think, Matt, I think obviously we've had a lot of hype in the NFT space late last year, and all of last year, and things have sort of died off a little bit. But the reality is NFTs continue to make headlines, and I think for those people that are still in the space, there are still some really exciting opportunities. I think you've got an upcoming, or we've got a mint that was available to our members today. I think it was today, Matt, that was going out.
Yeah, there's a competition. Competition that we had for Collective Shift members that was just to be able to get these passes for a mint that's happening April 1st. Yeah, that's pre-mint. So congrats to anyone who got on those raffle slots. And then Nathan here looking in the DeFi adoption, the overlap between DeFi and NFTs, as well as just picking some more broader picks that he thinks are going to be doing well in the short term. He covered Floordow last week, which ended up going up about 3x after he posted it, which was pretty nice. And another kind of overlap of DeFi and NFTs, a token that we did for pro members that I won't disclose, but that also nearly doubled about a week after we bought it. So, you're seeing a lot more of ways to get exposure towards NFTs, and you don't for those people who perhaps don't want to buy NFTs themselves. Ones like Floordow and some others are, really starting to gain some traction the past couple of weeks. If you don't mind, Ben, I'll quickly just give maybe like a few minutes, just like an update on what's going on in NFTs and where I'm seeing the state of the market. Yeah. So if you do click on, if you're just in our doc there, Ben, if you bring up I'll just bring up OpenSea and type in Azuki. So I do just want to, give you an update, because the NFTs, a lot of interest has gone off them. If you look at Google Trends, even volumes are really, really dropped down from about January or so. But interestingly, you're seeing the blue chip NFTs really hold their own, and a lot of them, well, not just hold their own, that's underselling it. They're actually increasing. Importantly, they're increasing in ETH terms as well. So, oh, sorry, in US, yeah, in ETH terms at a time when ETH has kind of gone on a strong run. So when ETH does go on a strong run, you typically see NFTs sell off proportionately just to reflect the USD amount. But what surprised many in the market is that the blue chips have ignored that. So Azuki here today has crossed 20 ETH for the first time. So it's now costing you about 75 grand US, so almost 100,000 Australian dollars just to get one. This launched in 12th of January. Like it's amazing. It people are still like, I think people don't understand. People are still making life-changing amounts of money investing in NFTs. Yes, the majority of them are terrible in terms of investments. Like there's still a majority of people are losing. But for the people who are picking these blue chip NFTs, they are just ripping higher and changing people's lives. And Azuki is another example this week that announced their first ever airdrop. So they announced yesterday the something NFT at NFT LA, a big NFT event going on over there. They announced the something NFT. It's going to be this thing that unveils itself. And Azuki holders received 2 of those. And yeah, you can sell those right now for about 4.15 ETH each on OpenSea. So yeah, 4.24 at the moment. So you're getting towards an 8.5 ETH that if you just held an Azuki, people received 8.5 ETH worth of NFTs yesterday. Again, like this, I don't think people understand. People kind of get desensitized to the USD equivalent of stuff when you're in crypto all the time. Like 8.5 ETH, that's like, I don't even want to do the math on how much ETH, how much USD and Australian dollars that is. And again, it kind of just really unites the community of Azuki holders because now they've got some exit liquidity. People now who don't have an Azuki like me can go, okay, I might want to get this something NFT to be a part of something bigger and a tighter community. And that's like where you're really starting to see prices drive up. Bored Ape, just very quickly, Bored Ape is also at a record high. I think I saw earlier today about 110, 115 ETH floor price, which is about equal where it got to when things were going nuts. But in USD terms, like don't want to do the math on how much 115 times the price of Ethereum is and what a price of in USD or in Australian dollars. But again, just like it's just nuts. And the airdrops, I think people need to understand the airdrops that these blue chip NFT holders are getting is, I think, bullish for the overall market because people are selling those. A lot of them are probably taking some money for taxes and whatnot. But I think a lot of those, Azuki, for example, you might sell one of those something NFTs, you might take half of it for profits, and then you might put half of it back into the NFT market. So I'm expecting that trickle down effect to really hit in April, which segues nicely, I suppose, Ben, into our April outlook. Unless you didn't want to comment on anything there.
No, I just think, like you said, I think it's probably going a little bit under the radar. Something that's actually going on in the NFT space. It's absolutely nuts for something that's launched in January. That's 3 months ago.
Yeah,
seemingly bearish NFT space. All I can say is I wish I followed Nathan when he posted about Bored Apes for members at 0.6 ETH. So if you haven't, if you remember or not, you can search in Bored Ape Your Club in the search bar. And Nathan actually did a how-to guide on how to buy a Bored Ape Your Club at 0.6 ETH, which makes me sick now. I think about it. I missed it, but
every time I share the link with people to tell them, like the featured image comes up in the link preview of like a Bored Ape with like 0.6 as like the floor price, and like I have to just like close my eyes. It's too painful. Well done to Nathan. I think he's still holding.
Yeah, good on him. No, I think let's get into April. I just wanted to say for those that are watching, please start firing in your questions. Maddie and I will take some Q&As in a second. If you're liking these live streams, please let us know. Give us a like on YouTube and a subscribe. It really helps us continue to grow the channel and continues to support us in doing these weekly wrap-ups. This is a new little style we're trialing, so please let us know if you're enjoying it. But yeah, let's get into April, Matt. So as I mentioned, I did a video yesterday. I was posted late last night because I'm on the road, but I think DeFi, honestly, is just still very undervalued. We're looking at the TVL, total transaction sort of total value locked in DeFi at the moment is only down about 15% from its all-time high records, where most assets are down 60 to 70%. Now, I'm not saying that all those assets will come up. I think there's a lot of crap in DeFi, just like there was in DeFi, just like there was in NFTs. So I think the cream will rise to the top, like your Arbes and your blue chips, Maple, et cetera, et cetera. Whether or not we see those all-time high prices again anytime soon, I don't know. Most likely not, but I think potentially there's some undervalued assets in that space. What are your thoughts, Matt, in April and beyond?
Yeah, I think if DeFi does continue this momentum, it won't be long before, before it really starts. We're just starting to see the start of a potential movement back to DeFi. So it's really that important time where if that momentum keeps going, it'll really start to, go parabolic or exponential, as they say, at least for the very short term. But there's been, as I said at the start, I think that it's legitimate. I guess the reasons why I think they're moving back into DeFi, synthetics, Uniswap, Aave, Maker, even they've just been doing so much development work, going multi-chain onto layer 2 solutions. I can start to get excited about DeFi again. What else have we got here for April, Ben? I think also the supply on exchanges, as you said. Yeah, I'm very keen to see. Oh, well, I would expect that to just continue to trend downwards and always be a surprise kind of factor for if Bitcoin does suddenly start to see a lot of demand.
On the other side, someone told me the other day that apparently historically every year around the Bitcoin Miami conference, Bitcoin goes down. I'm not a believer per se of like historic events being catalysts for price movements, but I'm just super excited to head over there and just generally just understand what's going on in the space. Over in America, it's supposed to be 35,000 people going to the Bitcoin Miami conference. Like, I think it's just going to be madness. Because we're a media partner, I got the list of announcements that are coming. Not all of them actually listed what the announcements are, but I'll bring up the email. So, a bit of alpha on the live stream, mate. If you can continue, I'll bring up this email from Bitcoin Miami conference.
Be careful. Be careful.
All
right, yeah, I'm looking forward to. I think Coinbase NFT exchange obviously has been a massive. I think they've pushed it back for a company as probably the most reputable company in the whole crypto industry. It's been interesting. They've pushed it back late last year, and they said Q1, or they never said anything, but that was basically what everyone was saying. And Q1's over now, so I would expect that to go in April for sure. Have you got that up, Ben?
I've got it up. Okay, so basically, here's the email from. Again, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but so we're a media partner of the Bitcoin Miami conference, so we get to ahead of time be sent the announcements that are going to happen.
A lot of like embargoed stuff. Yeah.
So they've listed the top 10 announcements. So I'll list the companies that are making announcements here: BitPay, Cash App, Curve, Ledger, Trezor, Strike. So Jack Mallers, I think that's the Apple announcement in my opinion, but anyway, we'll see. SoFi, Robinhood, MasterCard, XBTO, and Marathon Digital. Now, that is a number of product announcement, expansion, multiple, but a lot of these are TBD. Now, these companies don't want to announce what the announcement sort of stuff, but man, that's just the top 10. Then there's like the other list of like stuff that's happening. Like this space is just unbelievable, and so I'm super excited to go and hope I can share some bit of alpha for members ahead of time.
Yeah, good. Make sure you share it, whatever you see. Excitement. I've got here, the merge. I think just shot a video yesterday, and I think there's been Google searches for Ethereum merge are at record highs, which again isn't off a very low base, admittedly, but I'm seeing a lot of misinformation about the merge, so there'll be a video to help out everyone next week. But I would expect in April just excitement to grow, and I expect that would be translated into ETH's price rising once more people understand what's going to be happening with the issuance of ETH in particular once the merge happens. And I've also probably, I think just lastly, Ben, probably about the last thing I'm excited about, which I think members know definitely, is this upcoming NFT investment that's going to be happening in April. I think that's personally is going to be my biggest ever amount of money I've like invested in anything.
Chips are in, mate.
Yeah, all the chips are in basically on this. Yeah, I think it's hopefully it's all my many years of experience in the industry are kind of culminating, and we'll see what happens.
I'm getting tingles, mate.
I know. That's coming middle of April, and I've shared it with members 2 times now. I've done 2 posts about it. And yeah, I get way too excited by the time I publish it because it's just we'll leave it there. I think our NFT portfolio as well is going to be getting in on trying to get one as well.
100%. Awesome. Let's get into some Q&A. We've got some questions rolling in here, so I'll just scroll back so we don't miss anything. If you've got any questions, everyone, please feel free to shoot them across. Well, Apple announcement at the conference would be epic. It would be epic. It is just a rumor, but it would be huge if true. G'day, guys. Opinion on the new EU crypto law proposal. Unfortunately, I've literally just woken up. Not literally, but I have missed this news. I did see something on YouTube, but I haven't been able to dig into it. Matt, have you? Well, someone might try and search it.
Yeah, I saw overall bearish takes about it. It's annoying me because I only briefly scanned over this just with how much is going on.
Here we go. I'll just share my screen here.
Yeah, it's bugging me.
So the European Union lawmakers on Thursday night backed tougher traceability rules for transfers of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in a move the industry said would erode privacy, hinder innovation, and expose users to a higher risk of theft. So the draft legislation, part of a broader fight against money laundering, would require crypto firms to collect and share data on transactions in a business that has so far thrived on its anonymity. So basic crypto firms such as exchanges would have to obtain, hold, and submit information on those involved in transfers. This information would have to be made available. Yeah, so basically, by the sounds of it, without digging too much, it's basically going to be super tight laws and restrictions on sending, receiving crypto. It sounds like you might have to, maybe put in like who it's sending to, why you're sending it, etc., etc.
Yeah, I would expect to see a strong pushback by the European industry, crypto industry. You've seen that a lot happen in the US, given this is a drafted legislation. But I guess it'll be a test to see how strong the local, I guess, domestic kind of policy or even like representative body of the European crypto space is, because the US has definitely been tested a lot in the past few years, but the EU hasn't been as much, I guess, significant developments. So more of a watch this space, but I've definitely seen a lot of like fearful and disappointed comments on Twitter today, but yeah, I've had tabs open on it, but have yet to get to it.
It's
So
an
thanks
exemption
for bringing it up.
Yeah. Also, the rule would not be you go away for lower transfers under 1,000 euros. So you said the exemption for low transfer values would not be appropriate for as crypto users could dodge the rules. So that sounds pretty hindering in terms of difficulty of trying to make that all happen in terms of transacting in Europe. So we'll see.
Yeah, Ari Paul is one that I respect in the space, and with Bitcoin selling off even today, he reckons that this is what has caused the sell-off. He says, in my opinion, regulation like this in some form will inevitably be enacted in Europe within the next 2 years. Our hope is that it's as reasonable as possible. While it's bearish, many specific projects, companies, not bearish crypto as a whole. Because I think it is really, really demanding on, I think, like wallet providers and those kind of infrastructural kind of pieces in the industry, if they were to have these massive now compliance expectations and reporting expectations. That's probably the biggest fear here. That's just going to be so costly.
Yeah, the major compliance and operational costs for centralized crypto companies, and encourages users to leave their crypto assets with third parties. But that's mostly it. More friction and cost, no fundamental change. There you go. So a Coinbase user, for example, will have to verify their unhosted address with Coinbase to withdraw to it. But then everything after that is business as usual. Could turn uglier with a whole whitelist blacklist system. That sounds pretty shit, to be honest.
yeah, definitely watch this space, and hopefully they can kind of have enough pressure to change that drafted legislation.
Craig, showing some love. Thank you, mate. Thanks for joining us. Speaking about Chris, yes, Matt's got some good skin. Just back to quickly the institutional focus. Chris says, imagine with the ESG focus trend at the institutional level, the more we see institutional adoption, the more we'll see carbon incentives, green mining, and carbon offsetting, etc. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
just like the non-crypto world as well.
yeah.
Jamie, is ASM blue chip? I think he's speaking about an NFT project, Matt.
Yeah, the altered state machine. They have this brain, essentially brain NFT that I think it's about 5 or 6 ETH. I would, yeah, probably not price wise. It's not a blue chip relative to Mutant Ape Yacht Club, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Azuki now is definitely blue chip. But I reckon. I believe that like the brains have the potential to become a blue chip. And yeah, well done. There's a lot of collective shift members, probably like overrepresented as a portion of our group who have been holding these brains. I think it was Nick who did a spotlight on it last year, and I think those, again, that airdrop effect, people who held those brains got these, like a team of these 5 figurines that are going to be AI generated soccer players or whatever. They're based in New Zealand, Altered State Machine. They're doing a lot of really good work, and I reckon the ASM, the brains in particular, will be blue chip.
Brilliant. From Adam, Ben, what did you see in the Grails NFT by Proof Collective? You said you were considering purchasing prior to the Moonbirds announcement.
What did I see in it? Basically that it's the first of a series of Grails. So yeah, Proof have said that they're going to do these Grails on an ongoing basis, multiple, 2, 3, 4 times every year. And I guess why it interests me as a potential investment is just because it's like legacy and I guess status as the first Grails. So even if it's a floor Grails, I think they're about 1.8 at the moment. It would definitely, if I was to invest in it, still thinking about it, it'd be a very, very long-term play, just as the reputation of the Proof ecosystem, as well as awareness of the Proof ecosystem and I guess status in the industry increases in the years to come, which I strongly believe will happen.
We have another member here. Hey, Matt and Ben, I am a recent member, about 5 months. Good quality output. I purchased only about 200 USD Maple. I'm going to hold and buy more when the price goes down. So we took some profits, mate, yesterday. We took 25% off the top and continue to hold another 75%. So I think that's a good strategy. That was his first investment in DeFi. For such a low amount, it makes sense to hold, correct? Yeah, I think it's personal. Yeah, really
personal, like depending as a percentage of how much like that is important to you, and how much you've got allocated towards crypto. But there's typically nothing wrong with like holding cryptos over the long term, given its history, so long as it's a good token, which we believe Maple is.
Jamie, the Dutch auction will probably mint out at the top. Everyone is talking about it. I think we're talking about your favorite.
The
one. This might be Matt has got 25 ETH on the sidelines, but
well, someone said it could be psyops. They say like it could be that people could be psyching out the competition by saying they have 25 ETH ready.
Matt,
so people say people.
Sorry,
it's a Dutch auction. Dutch
auction
is just basically when. You're selling anything. It could apply to if you're selling a house or a car. You don't really see it that often, but in NFTs in particular, you're selling something for, let's say they'll start the auction at 1 ETH, and it'll progressively be lowered the asking price. It's basically a way to just figure out what the price point is, what the market kind of thinks is the best price point. So if you start at 1 ETH and no one wants it, you put it down to 0.9 ETH. A couple of people put in a buy price, And if you've got maybe a collection of 100 and two people have bought at 0.9, you'll go, okay, there's still 98 left of these. We're going down to 0.8 ETH. You might get 10 people buy, and then you might get it around 0.7 ETH. And then a lot of people go, okay, this is the price I'm willing to pay. So that's basically the mechanism of a Dutch auction. Just very, very quickly, I've actually seen a lot of people on Dutch auctions. A big, big pushback of it is that the people who are in the NFT space in particular, the people who are willing to pay the first offering price are typically the most dedicated, loyal, passionate collectors of that NFT. And a criticism of the Dutch auction is like, okay, if you start something at 1 ETH and you're that first person to buy at 1 ETH, and if it goes all the way down to like 0.4 ETH where it finishes, you've essentially robbed is probably the wrong term, but those most passionate people have lost out essentially on 0.6 ETH difference. So there was a project this week, I think Kawami or something like that. They were the first collection I've seen which actually reimbursed everyone who, in that example, bought in at the top and were the most passionate. They reimbursed them the difference of where the Dutch auction ended, which I thought was really cool. And I think a lot more projects will start to do that because it just builds that sense of community as well and the following.
Wow, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
if you've just caught on the end of that, we're talking about an NFT project that Matt's super bullish on, and we're going to be investing in mid-April. So you can head over to Collective Shift. You will need to be a member if you're not to see that, but yeah, super bullish on that investment. Cool. Couple more questions. Privacy and anonymity. This is what the internet went through about 20 years ago. Should the ISP disclose X or Y about so and so? Yeah, very true. I think it's just, again, crypto finding its way and legislation sort of, protecting those people that, that's their job, right? They're to protect consumers. So they are just doing what they need to be doing. But obviously it does hinder, new technologies and innovation. But, if we can find a happy medium, I think we'll all be happy in that scenario. Jamie, what do we feel about ATOM ticker?
Yeah, I think that was the native token of the altered state machine ecosystem that I think it launched today, actually. I haven't spent too much time reading up on the tokenomics of it or whatnot, but if it is tied to the success of the altered state machine ecosystem in a way that I think is strong connection, then I would definitely be willing to invest in it. But personally, I haven't had the time to read about it. But yeah, very exciting for another example of an NFT project that is tokenizing.
Thoughts on uni,
Or uni.
Jamie?
If it's out of Adam or uni, uni's kind of I can't say any short-term catalyst for it other than what we were saying earlier about just a general revival of DeFi. But uni long-term is one of my highest conviction investments that I have at the moment, just because of its just its market share really, and it's got this really good developer ecosystem, and now it's got this grants really kicking off. They've done a series of grants now which award all these different bounties and just help make all this tooling and developer guides to do with uni. And that just feeds upon itself and ultimately will bring value back to uni long term, I believe. So I'll always say that I believe at least uni is a good investment over a long enough time frame, multiple years.
And for me, my perspective on it's just a nice product in the end. It's got real utility. It's easy for consumers. I use it when I'm switching any sort of, some of these altcoins. I used it yesterday. I'm pretty sure, to rotate profits out of Maple into USDC. So yeah, I think reward products continue to have announcements. And
it was Adam. I've got so much NFTs in my head. Oh, sorry. I was just reading Jamie's comment. Yeah, Cosmos. Yeah, I saw the Asto. I saw ASTO in my head, but Adam, Cosmos's token, which I believe is, I think it's about 20th ranking on market cap or so. Yeah, look, it's actually got a surprisingly large developer community. Cosmos, they've been basically building since about 2016, 17. If you go back to when it first started, but I don't have any in Cosmos at the moment. Just haven't spent too much time checking up on what the state of their blockchain ecosystem is, and how much developer activity is on it. You've kind of just got to pick your fights in this space of like how much where you spend your time. And unfortunately, Cosmos is one I haven't really been following too much.
Matt, the Imposters NFT.
And on a similar note, I don't know too much about it, again, because of how much time I've been spending a lot of time on this upcoming investment on NFTs and more time just covering the broader space. So Imposters is one I have not really spent too much time on. As you said, I've seen there's hundreds of NFT collections going live every day. 10 of them, 5 of them will probably be worth of like, okay, what is this thing all about? And yeah, Imposters it could be one of those. I'm not sure. If you could even comment back, is it something that just launched? Is it about to launch? Or what do you like about it? But thanks for the question anyway.
Probably finish with this last question.
Yeah.
I'm adding some funds to the ATLO platform. Not heard too much from the Collective Shift team about Alto since the initial communication with you guys in January. Your thoughts on Alto, please? I'm not sure who was that. That might have been
probably Nathan with all the new stuff. I'm just going on here. Is it the Atlo protocol, a decentralized launch pad on Terra? If it is that one, then yeah, look, I would just be looking at, I think like Terra obviously is a really good tailwind for this Atlo project because of how much like usage and activity is going over to Terra. I would just be looking into what the value proposition of it is and also what the token is. I would also, just as a more general hint, not be afraid to, I can see here, if I'm on the right Twitter account, they are, they have a link to their Discord. I would also not be afraid of getting in there and asking questions just to speed up the amount of time it takes you to learn about it. Moderators in those Discord channels are often really really excited when someone comes in and is wanting to learn about the project from the actual fundamentals level rather than just asking, why is the price going down or up? So that would just be my advice there. But unfortunately, that's all I know about that one.
Awesome. Well, we might look to wrap it up there. If you've liked this weekly wrap-up format, this is new. Please, leave us a comment, give us a thumb up, a subscribe if you're a member. Please let us know your feedback in the member platform. If you're not, and you want to know ahead of time what Matt's investment is and more broadly what we're investing into, we have our investment section where we can clearly show you and transparently what we're investing into. Basically actively manage portfolios where you get live alerts on all of our trades, long-term, short-term, and NFTs, and really helps, the busy person. This is why, we're leading this Collective Shift platform for busy people like yourselves that don't have the time to do the research yourselves. We've built Collective Shift to help you, one, get from 0 to 1 in the fastest amount of time possible, save you time in crypto, understand what the hell is going on in this space, and keeping you ahead of time. So yeah, if you like this video, please let us know in the comments below, but we might look to wrap it up there. Thank you everyone so much for jumping on live. This was super fun. We'll probably do this again next week. I will be heading to Bitcoin Conference Miami on Monday, so I'll be on the road again, on the plane or whatever you want to call it next week. Try and tune in with Matt next week as well. But Matt, thank you very much for your time, mate. That was super fun.
That's right. Yeah, it's a good time. Enjoy Miami, Ben, and thanks everyone for tuning in.